Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching from. I want to be talking about the 5 common mistakes that makes our bread hard after baking. The 5 common mistakes include too much flour, not enough water, over baking, poor fermentation, not adding enough fat or sugar. Now, I'll talk about too much flour first. Number one major ingredient in bread making is flour. Flour is the basic ingredient for bread production. And how will you, before you produce a particular size of bread or dough, you have to measure. Everything have to be measured. At times you may be using weighing scale or cup, and everything has to be measured out precisely to avoid mistakes that will give you bad end result, that will not allow your bread to come out the way it should have come out. Once you miss the accurate measurement for a particular pan of bread that you want to make, the end result will not be good. Your bread may be either too hard or dense or whatever, and it may make the taste not good or nice for eating. So adding excessive flour creates stiff dough that bakes into dense hard bread. Always measure your flour accurately and add only enough to make a soft, slightly dough. You don't have to add too much. Not because you have a full bag or lorry load of dough or flour, you pack all of them and put into a particular production. The end result will not be good. Some years back, I worked on the effects of yeast ratio on dough production in bread making. When I did that work, I was able to see that every ingredient has its own function in bread making. And also, if you add too much yeast also in bread, it will give you something else. If the yeast that you're adding for a particular dough formation for that bread making is too much or too low, at the end on the end result, sorry for that break, my small girl here came in to distract me. Okay, the end result of that dough or the bread form, if the yeast is lower than that particular production, the rye, it will affect the fermentation process, thereby making the dough not to rise properly. Then if the yeast is too much, it will also still affect. If the yeast is still too much, it will also affect the dough formed by making it to rise too much. And when the rice is too much, all the ingredients you added there you will not be in place. They will not be in their proper place. You will not feel, the taste will be out of place. It will not give you a delicious taste, because too much yeast will displace the taste of it, milk, sugar, all other ingredients. It will not allow you to feel it will not allow you to have the feel you wanted to have. So it's better you follow the basic principles in bread production. Also, not enough water. When you don't add enough water to your flour while trying to form your dough, it will make your bread to be hard. It will be very, very dry. So you always have to use the correct amount of water or milk for your recipe so that you have a very accurate bread at the end of, or a very unique bread after baking. Accurate will be okay for if I was talking about soup, or I think a unique is better. So you have a something unique at the end of the baking and making your production process. So I think you've gotten that: too much flour, not enough water, little water, not enough water for the flour you measured out will affect the bread. It will make the bread hard. Over baking also. When it's time for you to bring out the bread, you don't bring out the bread from the oven. You say let it bake a little more. Or meanwhile, already the bread has been done, and you still allow it to bake and keep on baking. Maybe because you were using electricity or you have excess firewood, you decided to bake and bake and bake and bake, and the thing kept on cooking, or the heat kept on it was the heat was still going through the dough or the bread that had been formed. And by this time, what we call the outer layer of the bread form has turned into something else. That's the crust. The outer layer is called crust, the inner one is called crumb. The crust will be very hard, and it will be breaking. Everything will just be scattering. Thereby the taste, therefore, and the taste will not be unique, and the bread will not also be palatable. Even the outward appearance of that bread will not be giving, it will not be inviting, it will not be attractive to customers. So once you start the baking, whether you're using stove, you're using gas, you're using oven, firewood oven, stove oven, electric oven, gas oven, whatever, whichever type of oven you're using, you have to time the baking process. Once you put your pan into the oven, whichever form of method you're using, start timing. Don't forget yourself, don't sleep up, so that your bread will not overcook. Once it overcooks, you will not get what you were supposed to get at the end. Also, now I think I had earlier dived into poor fermentation process a little. Well, poor fermentation or underproofing or overproofing. Underproofing dough doesn't expand. Underproofed dough doesn't expand well, and it bakes into a compact loaf. Once you overproof your dough, it can also collapse and become dense after baking. Allow the dough to rise until it has approximately doubled in size. Once it doubles in size, stop proving. Put it into your oven and ready for baking. So many things can affect poor fermentation. Yeast can also be too